Hello and welcome to Dental Studies Simplified. I am Dr. Ankita Kotecha and today is the next part of my topic, measuring the width of attached gingiva. In the previous part of this topic, we discussed how to locate the mucogingival junction. That is mainly 4 methods categorized into 3 categories: visual, functional and anesthetic. Under visual, we have 2 methods: direct visual examination and visual examination after staining. And under functional method, we have roll test. An anesthetic method is an outdated method of historical perspective. So once mucogingival junction is achieved, is demarcated, is identified, then is the time to measure our attached gingiva. So this is our alveolar mucosa. This is the mucogingival junction, free gingiva and attached gingiva. Clear? So to measure the width of attached gingiva, now that we know where is the mucogingival junction, again we have 3 methods. And this is going to be very interesting because all the 3 methods will give us the results in 3 different formats, 3 different forms, 3 different formats. Please watch carefully. The first method is the measurement method, which is the most commonly used and recommended one. Partly you can say so. I will justify why it is not recommended and why it is recommended both. First method is measurement method. Second method is functional method, that is tension test. And the third method is of historical perspective, but for our knowledge, radiographic method. Let us discuss each of the following in detail. Beginning with measurement method. Here, now that we know where is the mucogingival junction, so with the help of any calibrated probe, let us say periodontal probe, there we have to measure 2 distances. Let's say mucogingival junction is A, the base of the sulcus or pocket is B, and the free gingival margin crest is C. So we have to measure the parameters, that is AC and BC. Clear? Where AC is the keratinized tissue, that is keratinized gingiva, which contains both attached gingiva plus free gingiva, and BC is the sulcus, or in certain cases pocket, or ordinarily it is free gingiva. Clear? Now when we have measured both the parameters AC and BC, now is the time to subtract this free gingiva portion from the keratinized gingiva portion so that we get attached gingiva. I'll explain here. Keratinized gingiva is attached gingiva plus free gingiva. We have the value of keratinized gingiva, we have the value of free gingiva. Therefore, attached gingiva is keratinized gingiva minus free gingiva. Simple mathematics. Only thing we have to do is measure the 2 parameters, that is keratinized gingiva width and the free gingiva width, or the sulcus depth, or in certain cases pocket depth. Clear? That's how we get the measurement of attached gingiva. Here I have one more point to add, that is this parameter detected or measured via measurement method is called clinical attached gingiva. Just like we have 2 types of probing depth, that is biologic probing depth and clinical probing depth. Similarly, we have 2 types of width of attached gingiva. Here we have clinical width of attached gingiva because we are measuring attached gingiva with the help of clinically visible landmarks. The reference points here are clinically visible, that is the free gingival margin and the mucogingival junction. This is the main clinically visible parameter used to measure the width of attached gingiva. Clear? And as already discussed in my video on probing depth versus clinical attachment level or loss, the probing, that is our periodontal probing, is associated with human error and instrument error, and hence this BC, the probing depth, which is of a pocket or a sulcus, whichever applicable, is associated with error. Now if this value of free gingiva is with error, then obviously the value of attached gingiva derived is associated with error, and that is why this value is called clinical width of attached gingiva. It may or may not be equal to the actual or anatomic width of attached gingiva. What is anatomic width of attached gingiva? We will discuss in the radiographic method. But for now, please remember, this is clinical width of attached gingiva. Moving on to the functional method. This is measurement method. So now coming to functional method, which is tension test. I told you all the three methods will give us different forms of answers. Here we got clinical width of attached gingiva. Coming to tension test, wherein the patient's lips and cheeks are moved outwards, downwards and laterally to assess the tissue mobility at the free gingival margin level. When we are doing this tension, when we are applying tension by retracting or pulling the lips and cheeks outward, downwards and laterally, we check for movement at the marginal gingiva. Now, here we have only two answers. That is, we check for movement at marginal gingiva. If it is moving, then tension test is positive. If it is not moving, tension test is negative. Now, what is the conclusion? So, if tension test is positive, that is the marginal gingiva is movable, that means attached gingiva is less, insufficient width of attached gingiva. But if the marginal gingiva does not move with the tension test, that means there is sufficient width of attached gingiva present, and hence the tissue is stable enough to avoid or to bypass these tension forces. Clear? This is the format of answer received in tension test. Nominal data, yes or no, positive or negative. There is no value here. From this test, we can only conclude whether there is sufficient width of attached gingiva or insufficient. That's it. We don't get any values as in case with measurement method. Clear? This is tension test. Coming to the last method, that is radiographic method. I repeat, it is of historical perspective and it is not performed in routine practice nowadays. In this radiographic method, the mucogingival junction as identified by one of the previously discussed method, this mucogingival junction, now we place the orthodontic wire pieces on this mucogingival junction coinciding with the facial or mid-facial aspect of the teeth. So let's say on the mucogingival junction, mid-facial aspect. Here, small orthodontic wire pieces are placed and they are secured via adhesive bandages. These small orthodontic wire pieces are secured via adhesive bandages and then an OPG is taken. Now you will ask me, we have mucogingival junction. What is the next reference point to compute the width of attached gingiva? I told you this method gives us anatomic width of attached gingiva and not clinical, and that is why they will not use any clinical reference point here as in case with the measurement method where they used free gingival margin and the base of the sulcus. In radiographic method they use CEJ. Let's say our CEJ is here. On radiograph they will make a line joining all the CEJ. So let's say if CEJ is here, then on the radiograph they draw line connecting all the CEJ, and on radiograph we get this radio opaque wire pieces and then they assess this distance. That is why this width of attached gingiva is called anatomic width of attached gingiva from the CEJ to the mucogingival junction. CEJ to mucogingival junction, whereas here it was base of the pocket or sulcus to mucogingival junction. This is the difference between clinical width of attached gingiva and anatomic width of attached gingiva. So, to summarize the methods to measure the width of attached gingiva, three methods: measurement method, tension test and radiographic method. Measurement method gives us the answer in form of clinical width of attached gingiva. Tension test gives us the answer in form of whether there is insufficient gingiva or sufficient width of attached gingiva. And radiographic method, which is an outdated and of historical perspective presently, gives us the answer in form of anatomic width of attached gingiva. So this completes the topic how to measure the width of attached gingiva. Coming to the applied aspects, why are we supposed to measure the width of attached gingiva? Because measuring the width of attached gingiva and identification of the mucogingival junction determines our choice of flap surgery technique. If the attached gingiva is minimum, we may go for sulcular incision rather than a submarginal incision, or in extreme cases where there is very minimum attached gingiva or absolutely zero, it may call for increase in the width of attached gingiva procedure. And that is why knowing the measurement of attached gingiva is essential before taking up any flap surgery case. This completes the topic measuring the width of attached gingiva. I hope the topic is clear to you all. The concept is clear, but if you still have any doubts or any queries, feel free to ask me in the comment section below or mail me at my email ID dentalstudiessimplified@gmail.com. Thank you for watching and listening to me. Study well. Have a good day. Stay safe.